All right. Looks like we're live.
Okay. Yes.
Cool. Well, welcome to anybody that's already here. We'll just hang out for a little bit while people join in and get online. And let's see. All right.
Yeah, looks like zero live up yet. So we'll give them some time to stream in here.
All right. Looks like there's some people here, though. So
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody who's streaming in. We're just going to give a little time here for people to stream into the webinar here before we get started. So appreciate you joining us, though.
all right. Let's see. Okay, we got a few more visitors in here. So yeah, if you can hear me and Todd and we're coming through loud and clear, just drop a message in chat. Let us know that you can hear everything. And feel free to let us know where you're piping in from. Where are you located in this world? Just curious if we've got mostly US people, mostly outside the US mix. Hello from Detroit. Welcome.
Nice. Very good. Not too far from where I grew up in Wisconsin.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in Kentucky right now. Todd's in Florida. So we're interested to see where everybody else is. And
London.
also,
Very
do
cool.
you have that poll going, Todd? I want to see how long people have been selling for. Hello in London. Yes. I assume London, England, not London, Canada.
Yeah, you want me to run the poll now, Jackson, you think? Or
Sure. Yeah, let's see. We got
Portugal. Very nice.
Got like 10 people in here, so I think it'll show up for whoever joins next. So
yep. Okay.
A couple minutes
so
here.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start the poll here for
London,
how many years have you been selling on Amazon? So let's publish that. So yeah, as you're streaming in here, if you see that poll, go ahead and answer just so we have an idea on what level everyone is at currently.
Cool. Mostly in the early stages, it seems. So that's good because you'll learn how to not make newbie mistakes in this presentation.
Yes, for sure. For sure. It's always good to start out correctly from the beginning so you don't have to correct your mistakes, which is something we do a lot of, because usually when people come to us, it's already pretty late and going down the wrong path of logistics and spending way too much money on storage and fees and all the other things that you can waste your profits on in Amazon.
All right. Okay. Well, I think we can just give it one more minute and then we'll just go ahead with whoever ends up joining us. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Just going to make sure as many people get in on this before we kick off.
Yep.
Again, if you are with us live, let us know where you're from. We got Portugal, London, Detroit. Anybody else in the US? Anybody else outside the US? Let us know. I'm very curious.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people showing up as visitor. A few people have put their names in. If you're willing to at least put your first name in there, that'd be awesome. So if you have a question or something like that, we can address you by the name.
Mm-hmm.
If you prefer to stay anonymous, that's cool too.
Yeah, that'll help. There'll be
always good to call people by their name.
Yeah, and there'll be some valuable Q&A at the end of this. So we're here to answer your questions. And, Todd and I have experience throughout all of the Amazon sphere. So it's not just going to be 51st state.
Yeah, I was just laughing at that. I'm guessing you're from Canada.
I'm from Canada originally. So yeah, that's cool.
That's
which
awesome.
province? Which province? 51st state. Which province?
Yeah. Leslie from Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome, Leslie. Warren.
Cool.
I'm down in Tampa, Florida. We're from London, England. Wow, we got a bunch of London and England people in here, which is awesome.
Ontario, cool.
Ontario. I'm assuming that's the 51st state guy.
Yeah.
From Ontario.
If you have a problem with phone, yeah. We're about to kick things off now. So let us know if there's any issues. If everybody can just give us can hear you loud and clear, something in chat, we're going to kick off the presentation now.
Yep, absolutely. And if you haven't done the poll already, feel free to do that if you're just joining us. Looks like we've got a good chunk of people in here now. So,
yeah. And one thing to note, guys, if you have a question that pops up, it would be great if you can add it to the Q&A section of the chat. But if you forget, then we've got an admin that's going to move that over there. But don't wait till the end to ask questions. If you've got questions that pop up while we're presenting or already on this subject or any other with regards to Amazon, feel free to post them there, and then we'll take those questions at the end.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. We'll do our best to move any chat questions over to the Q&A. But if you want to for sure that we see it, add it in the Q&A, because the chat can get busy.
And it's complicated if you're still labeled as visitor. So yeah, update your name again.
For sure.
Cool.
All right. So let's go ahead and end the poll here. And I'm not sure if that shows on their end or not. I had set it to, but it looks like we've got 80% 0 to 1 years, 10% 1 to 3 years selling, and 10% 3 to 5 years. So skewed towards the newer sellers, but have some experienced sellers on here as well.
Yeah,
looks like.
So that means everybody here has nobody from the teens, all from the 2020s essentially. Maybe one person from the 2019 zone or something.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you and me, Jackson, I guess are the OGs on here.
Yeah, they're all during the modern 2020 COVID era of Amazon.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, let me grab a drink of water.
Cool.
And we can get started here.
Oh, so hey, Liz says 5 to 10, so maybe she missed the poll. Good, awesome, Liz. Great to see you.
Okay, awesome.
Hopefully we can bring some great value to you, because if you're already shipping a lot of product, maybe you can save thousands of dollars. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us. My name's Todd Welch, and then Jackson Trigg is here with me as well. And today we're going to be diving into how to optimize your AWD storage like a pro. So some of you who are new may be asking yourself, what is AWD, which we're going to be diving into. But essentially, it's, the storage of your product, how to manage the storage of your product in Amazon. It's not one of the sexy things, right? Everybody likes to focus on creating an awesome product, creating an awesome listing, honing in your ads, maximizing sales, all that. But if you don't have your inventory ready to go in the right places, you're either going to be paying too much, or you're going to be running out of stock and not being able to sell the products you want to sell. So today we're going to be diving into the AWD specifically, and how to manage your inventory and really avoid a lot of the fees and such that Amazon's been tacking on lately. They've really gotten in the habit of jacking up the fees on people. So hopefully with the information that you get today, that can help you decrease those fees a little bit, or a lot potentially. So, who are we, I guess, and why should you pay attention to anything that we are saying? So, first off, Amazon Storage Pros is the company that Jackson and I have started. And we were specifically founded to help Amazon private label sellers and brands in general navigate the complexities of logistics on Amazon, right? Because it used to be super easy. You just send all your inventory into FBA and you are good to go. And over the last several years, especially, Amazon has increasingly slapped people for taking that route. So now you got to have your inventory in multiple different places, or you're going to be paying way too much on fees, maybe running out of stock and running into lots of other headaches. So Jackson, he's been selling on Amazon and Shopify since about 2016, so 9 years this year. And he's definitely an elite expert when it comes to running everything to do with Amazon. But really to do with logistics, he is amazing at it. Even better than myself, I'm going to be humble. Jackson is awesome at logistics, and has worked wonders with clients that we've worked with now and in the past as well. So myself, I'm the CIO of Amazon Storage Pros. I've been selling since 2014. I have a multi-million-dollar business that I'm running currently, selling products mostly for other brands. I like to help brands that are selling on Amazon sell more products and really optimize their logistics on the platform. And I've also been mentoring and teaching Amazon sellers since 2018 through my platform, Amazon Seller School, which is a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed teaching people and helping people out there to be successful selling on Amazon as well. So what does Amazon Storage Pros do? Like I said, we handle all of the boring stuff for you, all of the non-sexy stuff. So once you have, your product and your listing beautiful, your PPC all laid out, you still got to manage all of those back end functions. We like to equate it kind of to like doing your accounting and your books. Nobody likes to do that side of their business for the most part. There's probably some people out there that do, but it has to get done, right? For your business to run efficiently, for you to make sure you're doing things correctly. And so that's what we do at Amazon Storage Pros. Anything related to managing your inventory and managing your logistics, our inventory managers can take care of that for you completely, or we can be advisors to you and direct you in the proper routes to do things, or we can also do consulting calls and answer individual questions, help you with different things like that. But all of the back end stuff is what we do at Amazon Storage Pros. So Amazon warehousing distribution. So what is it actually good for? So essentially, you can think of AWD as a 3PL. So most people are going to know what a 3PL is, or a warehouse that you're storing your bulk products. So you're going to have a whole bunch of your products. You're going to store them in some kind of warehouse. You're either going to store them in your own warehouse. You're going to store them in a 3PL, which is a third-party logistics provider, a warehouse that does the warehousing for you, or you're going to be storing them in AWD, which is Amazon's version of a 3PL. And so what they do really well is bulk storage of your products. They have very competitive rates for storing your products in their warehouses. Compared to FBA, if you're storing everything in FBA, it's not even comparable. It's much more cheaper than FBA is. And it's really designed to drip feed your products from AWD into FBA. So you're going to have your products in FBA, right? When you're selling, those are the products you're actively selling and Amazon is shipping out to your customers. The next step back is AWD, is where you're going to have your products, the bulk products, stored, and Amazon is going to send those into the FBA warehouses automatically for you as you need them. And so it makes it very easy to manage your FBA replenishments. And it has a very straightforward interface for creating those shipments and sending those shipments to FBA, but also to multi-channel. So if you have other locations that you need to send product to, so for example, let's say you wanted to pull a case of product and send it to your house for inspection, you could do that. If you needed to send product to a 3PL for some reason, maybe you're fulfilling your Shopify orders from your 3PL and you need to get extra product, you can do that. If you want to send it over to Walmart fulfillment services, surprisingly, right? Or Target, perhaps. If you want to send it into their fulfillment systems, you can actually do that through AWD by uploading those labels and sending, and Amazon will slap those labels on your case packs and send them over to your third party, wherever it is that you want it to go. So what is AWD not good for? So unlike if you had your own warehouse or if most 3PLs, AWD does not do any kind of kitting or refurbishing of your products. They're not going to receive returns from that, customers returned and grade those returns or anything like that. And they're not going to do any individual picking and packing of products. AWD is a case pack only. So if your product comes from your factory in a case of 24, let's say, you're going to be sending that entire box of 24 into AWD. They're not going to handle individual products. And Amazon's going to send those case packs to FBA, where FBA handles those individual products for you. Or you could send it to even a retailer, right? Let's say you have your product in retail stores and you sell them a case of your product or 10 cases of your product. Amazon is going to send those cases out to that retailer if that's where you want them to send it to. So if you are doing kitting, refurbishing, relabeling of products, things like that, you'd still have to do that yourself or utilize a 3PL that can do that stuff in addition to the bulk storage of your products. So not everyone is a perfect fit for AWD. There's some products that I sell myself that I don't use AWD for because either they sell a low quantity or I need to do some kind of custom bubble wrapping or something like that that the brand is not doing. And so those kind of products I don't send into AWD. But who it is really good for is if you have large production orders with long lead times. So let's say you're ordering product from China and it takes you 3 months from the time you put in the order to get it in, and you're ordering a full container load or a half container load of those products. AWD can be a perfect option for that because you're going to be ordering a large volume. Because if it takes you 3 months from ordering to get the order into the United States, you need to order large bulk amounts. So you're going to have to store that somewhere. So AWD can be perfect for that. If you're already using a 3PL or have your own warehouse for bulk storage, AWD potentially could be a great option to save you on the prices of the storage and also for that dripping into FBA. It makes it much easier to replenish FBA without paying the crazy inbound placement fees that Amazon has added on. And if you're routinely shipping bulk inventory like LTL or FTL, you know, a bunch of pallets or a full truckload multiple times a month or once a month, every couple months, 3 months, instead of sending those bulk shipments into FBA, you're going to want to be sending those into AWD, again, to really save on those fees and such, which we're going to be diving into a lot more later. But it can really help decrease those fees that you're paying, especially the crazy inbound placement fee as we've got there in that last bullet point, which Amazon, of course, introduced that in the early 2024s, which drove everyone insane with the inbound placement fee. But essentially, that was their attempt to try to push people to use AWD more, because Amazon wants multiple levels to their warehouse so that they can better move product around the country and get that 1-day shipping, 2-day shipping, same-day shipping for their customers. And so which products are eligible for AWD? So this is another thing you're going to want to really pay attention to and make sure your products are eligible. So right now, it's available for products that are small or large standard size and possibly oversized, although you're going to have to really run the numbers on oversized products because the case pack has to be less than 25 inches squared and less than 49 pounds. So it's the same requirements as sending into FBA, but this is the requirement for your case pack. So small and large standard size products are going to be ideal for this, but oversized could potentially work if you can get, you know, enough of them into a case pack of this size and for it to make sense with the fees that we're going to be diving into with AWD, because of course, you know, AWD has fees just like FBA, but they're much lower than what FBA is. But in not all cases do they make sense depending on your product. And also right now, no dangerous goods. And all of this is subject to change, I'll point out, because not too long ago, you could not send expiration dated products in there. So if your product expired, you couldn't send them in. But recently, they changed that requirement to now allow expiration dated products. So at some point, they may allow dangerous goods. They may allow larger products and things like that. But right now, as of the recording of this, which is in February of 2025, these are the product eligibility requirements. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jackson to really start diving into some of the details and break down the pricing with AWD and go over some examples of how you can actually really save using AWD. So Jackson, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Todd. Cool. Yeah. So basically AWD, it's a 3PL. It's Amazon's version of a 3PL. So it's got a cost structure just like any other warehouse. But the difference between AWD and a normal 3PL is, as Todd explained, the services are more limited, but the pricing system is quite simple. It's much more simplified than your typical 3PL. And because of that, there's also, you have a lot more control over what your expected costs are going to be, because everything is very easily calculated, predictable. There isn't the risk of all of a sudden getting a giant charge because a full container load showed up at your warehouse and it happened to take 3 people to unload it this time and you pay extra labor, stuff like this. Anyway, it's a master carton and cubic footage based system. So it's how many boxes, how big are the boxes. Doesn't matter if they're palletized this way, if they come in floor loaded, it doesn't matter. Whatever the amount of boxes and the size of those boxes, that's all that's going to matter with how they bill you. What this boils down to is 3 fundamental fees. There's their storage fees, there's their processing fees, and there's the transportation fees. Processing fees are essentially their handling fees, so receiving and prepping to go out. And transportation fees are essentially their postage cost or carrier costs of moving stuff out of AWD to wherever you're sending it, whether it's FBA or to some other destination. So, and then of course, aside from these three costs, if you're sending something into AWD as opposed to sending it to your 3PL or sending it direct to FBA, there's the cost of whatever that carrier is, whether it's freight over the ocean or whether it's a truck from your 3PL to AWD, or if you're just sending a carton from your house, whatever it is. So to break this down, currently Amazon's about to change the price structure. And that's why if you can take advantage of AWD, if after listening to this presentation, you realize, okay, this is a fit for me, this makes sense for me, the price for AWD is about to change. They expanded the program at about March of last year. And now the deal, they realize it's too good of a deal. And so they're raising the prices come April 1st. And it's not an April Fool, sadly, I don't expect. So right now, though, you can take advantage of really competitive pricing where Amazon's only charging 36 cents per cubic foot per month. So that's about, it's less than half what the FBA rate is at 78 cents per cubic foot. And all you have to do to qualify for that lower rate is use a partnered carrier shipment carrier, you know what I mean? And that's usually the best price anyway. So there's not really any reason not to. So you're always typically going to get this lowest rate if you're shipping stuff domestically into AWD. So you can get that lower storage fee and essentially cut your storage costs in half or more when you're storing a bulk of your inventory at AWD and letting it drip feed into FBA, rather than sending 3, 4, 5 months of inventory to FBA and all that inventory that's not selling for several months, you're paying twice or more on your storage costs. Then it comes to the processing fees. Again, this is, it's your receiving and your pick and pack built in, right? Now, this is where the major benefit and the major change is happening, is Amazon realized, okay, if we don't charge a fee when we receive the boxes, then we're doing all this work at no charge. And then we're only charging them when they remove it out of here. But what if someone sends in like 1 year, 2 years worth of inventory and we charge them nothing to house it other than storage? We don't, charge any labor cost to handle this stuff. And then for a year, you get nothing for having done all that work, right? Until they pull it out. So they're changing this. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the transportation fees, it is a cubic foot size based charge. Doesn't have anything to do with the weight. So that's one of the really strong benefits of this, is that you could have a really heavy small product. And whereas shipping that from your house or from your supplier direct into FBA might cost a fortune, if it's just going from AWD to FBA through their automated replenishment, it's just getting bundled in with all these other truckloads that are constantly moving between distribution centers, and you're getting the benefit of Amazon's scale, and they're only going to charge you by the size of the package, which is 85 cents per cubic foot if you're getting the discounted rate that's good for the next 6 weeks. All right. So what's happening, though, is the prices are going up, and they're going up about 20% on the storage cost and about 35% on everything else. So it's a significant increase. Now, even though this is going to run about an average of 30% increase on the costs of using AWD, it was such a good deal currently, and still is right now, that even with this price increase, it's still cheaper and better for most FBA sellers to incorporate it into their supply chain. But right now, it's the cheapest it's ever going to be. And so anything you can get into AWD right now, you're locking in the best rates. And to get the best rates in the upcoming price structure that's changing to is going to be more difficult to qualify for. So this new price structure, as I mentioned before, they're changing the processing fee. That's the biggest change. And they're changing the processing fee where instead of it being, we take in your stuff for free, and then when it moves out, we charge you a processing fee, they realized that's not working for us. We're going to charge a fee when it comes in, and we're going to charge another fee when it comes out. It's going to be a smaller fee on each side, but in total, it's a higher amount. So it's a price increase, and it is a cash flow hit for sellers, where before you could just send stuff in, house it there, pay really minimal storage fees. And until you needed it, you didn't have to pay this processing fee, but now you're gonna have to pay a little bit up front, a little bit on the end. Amazon's got their cash flow in better shape, and we're taking the hit as we typically do when Amazon does a price hike. Storage fees are going up slightly. That's really negligible, not a big deal. But the transportation costs are going up by approximately, what is that, 30 cents on 85. We're looking at, in the 40% range. That's the big pickup there as well. So things are getting more expensive, but like I said, it's still going to be cheaper than paying placement fees on every shipment you send into FBA. So I'm not going to go in big detail here because we don't even know how Amazon is going to shake this out. The managed rate, Amazon managed rate, is going to be the equivalent to getting the integrated rates, the discounted priority rates that you can get with AWD right now if you just send in with a partnered carrier every few months. But what they're going to start doing is requiring that you are using AWD for a majority of your inventory, and they're going to regulate that and have benchmarks you need to hit in order to qualify. So Amazon is saying, we want more control over your inventory so that we can optimize our systems for max efficiency. We'll give you a discount if you can play the game and manage your inventory in such a way that helps us to manage inventory better, right? So I'll leave it at that. We'll find out how this actually plays out in April 1st when the change happens, because it's not super clear how they're going to do some of these calculations. We will find out. So giving a breakdown of how this pricing system works. These are 3 real products in an account I've managed for years. And on the top, you can see a case pack that it's a bigger product, about this size, and only 12 fit in a master case. So the next one down below it is a smaller version of a similar product, fits 20 in a master case. And then on the bottom is a very small product, compact, fits 150 units in a master case, and still stays under the 50-pound limit. So the general rule here is that if you have a high volume, small size product, you could be saving tons and tons of money if you start using AWD. But if you have a high volume product, even if it's a bigger, bulkier product that you can't fit very many units in a master case, you can still be saving quite a bit of money. But if it's a slow moving, large product, kind of like what Todd was saying, some of the products in his catalog don't work. There are going to be some situations where it won't be a fit for a certain product line, but for many product lines with good volume, it just makes sense. So how this breaks down is I'm using the updated pricing to give you an idea of how this looks starting in April. But if you include the processing fees in and out, it's $2.70 per box. You do the calculations. This box is 3.09 cubic feet. So that works out to a $3.55 transportation fee. I'm looking at this top 12 unit master case right now. So that adds up to $6.25 total, which divided by 12 units works out to 52 cents per unit. That is what the price is going to become. Whereas currently on this product, I'm only paying 40 cents a unit when I'm shipping this in between AWD into FBA. Products that I've already sent in to AWD, this is the price that I would be paying in April. Right now, I'm paying 40 cents a unit. So we're looking at the price increase here. A full pallet of this product, to facilitate transport between bulk storage at AWD into FBA right now, it's costing $96 a pallet, 240 units a pallet. That's going to go up to 125. Significant increase, not going to break the bank, but it's coming, right? The same process applies to these other ones, but as you can see, the cost per unit, the more units there are per box, the cheaper that cost per unit. When I go up to 20 units in a master case, it's going from 52 cents to 32 cents. When I go up to 150 units in a master case, that drops down to under 4 cents a unit transporting from AWD to FBA. And on the right here, my current pricing, 40 cents, 24 cents, 3 cents. These are going up pretty significantly. And that's kind of the situation that's going to happen with pricing. All right. So one other aspect that is sort of overlooked because it's not something that every seller needs, but it is something that needs to exist for AWD's system to be functional for any seller, which is multi-channel distribution. This is the AWD case pack cousin of the multi-channel fulfillment program with FBA, which many sellers, myself included, use multi-channel fulfillment to simplify their supply chain by storing all their products primarily at FBA. But then if they have their own website as a good sales channel, or other shopping websites like eBay, for instance, you can fulfill those orders for your website or FBA by using your website, or say eBay, by using your FBA inventory to fulfill those orders. And you don't have to manage keeping stock in all these different locations, because you can just pool a lot of your inventory in Amazon's networks and still distribute it to all these different channels. So it's a very useful tool, MCF. And then MCD, multi-channel distribution, is AWD's case pack version of that, where you can pull out shipments in case pack size at will from AWD to send them wherever you like. So you can do this both by small parcel shipments, or you can palletize up to full truckloads. So it just depends on what you need, where you're sending it to, what makes the most sense. And as Todd mentioned earlier, you can do custom labeling now through AWD. So if you are using AWD as your primary hub of bulk storage, and then that being a distribution channel for all your other networks, like if you are selling retail in certain partners and you send in a couple pallets to them every couple months and they sell your stuff retail, or you're using Walmart or whatever it is, you can distribute your stuff from AWD in a very simple, clean, easy to manage way. And it's usually about 12 to 14 days to deliver. But I've had times where sometimes it's delivered 3 or 4 days. It just depends, right? Excuse me. So multi-channel distribution, for those of you that don't know anything about it, now's your first hearing. It's obviously not ruined, but if you were like me when they introduced this a year ago, and me going, holy crap, this is an amazing service because it's so ridiculously cheap. Amazon also got wise to that as well. Multi-channel distribution was so absurdly cheap to ship packages that I was like, oh my gosh, anytime we can use this, we have to use it, because we do a lot of wholesale shipments for retail buyers. And anytime we're fulfilling a large wholesale order, if we could send the inventory from MCD rather than our 3PL, we would, because you'd pay like a third the price in the shipping cost and you could get a ton more profit on your wholesale orders. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could use this. That's just one example. So in this example here, we've got a pallet. This is that first product in the top of the other slide. 720 pounds, 20 cases, 12 units each, so 240 in total, blah, 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 62 cubic feet for the whole pallet. Now, with the current pricing, I could ship this either SPD or LTL, no difference in pricing. It's all the same price. And that same per box fee is going to apply, but then there's a slightly higher cubic footage transportation fee for MCD. In this case, it was $165, which is still the current price, $2.13 a box. So again, 20 cases and 62 cubic feet. So we're talking $2.13 times 20, 40 and change, and then 62 times 165. So somewhere around $90, right? So adding all this up together to send a single pallet or to send 20 boxes as just UPS shipments, it was going to cost $145. Now, these are like 35-pound cases that are sizable boxes, right? If you're shipping these like zone 1, say California to California, or like zone 7-8, California to Maine, New York, stuff like that, you're looking at like 28 to like $50. And that's not even including shipping to like Hawaii or Alaska or something like that. So we're talking what would normally cost somewhere between like $500 and $1,000 was only $145. So anytime I could use this service for a sale, I did, because it made massive profits. We're talking like, an extra $350 in your pocket, right? Anyway, that's going to be changing as well. So they're going to bifurcate the small parcel rates and the LTL rates. It makes sense. And what's happening is, instead of being ridiculously underpriced where Amazon is losing money and you're making money on their behalf, which whenever you can, please do, right? Now it's going to be more fair, right? More fair to Amazon, fine for us. So as I've said at this subtitle here, MCD's quick journey from amazing to adequate. It's still good. It's still fine. It's just not mind-blowingly you're taking money out of Amazon's pockets. So how it's going to work is there's going to become a distance and weight tiered system. So if your stuff is going further, Amazon's going to charge you more because distance creates an increased cost. And if it's heavier, it's going to cost more, just like things normally do. But without getting into the details here, LTL is priced fine. If you're going to do a full truckload, it's not going to be a great deal compared to if you could book your own freight forwarder, but it's not unacceptably expensive for short trips, short LTL trips nearby. It's fine. It's a great deal. If you're filling up a truckload, not so much. It's a little bit more expensive than if you were booking directly with another freight forwarder. SPD, though, is still going to be 25% below market retail rates on package shipments. So it's still great for SPD. No doubt about that. Okay. So here is the magic of why I think one of the reasons why every seller that can use AWD absolutely needs to use AWD. Because especially now, this is for all you newer sellers, 0 to 1 year in that poll from beginning, this is where you need to listen up, okay? You've probably heard the horror stories. If you haven't, well, here's how it works. If you have an issue with your inventory, you've got a production run and say like, you've got a package mistake or packing mistake and your product is getting broken in shipment and you need to fix it. Or say your product has a defect and it's getting terrible reviews and you've got to deal with this issue. If you have all your inventory at FBA, that could be a crippling blow that actually destroys your business because it's so expensive and so disruptive to have to deal with an inventory problem when all your stuff is at FBA. Doing removals from FBA completely pause your sales. They take weeks to conduct. You're going to get a bazillion boxes shipped to either your 3PL or yourself, wherever you're going with it, and they cost so much money. Okay. Now, if you're using AWD and you have the benefit of multi-channel distribution that I just described, this is how this whole equation plays out. Let's say the same product that I just gave an example of, one pallet cost shipping out of AWD using MCD, multi-channel distribution. If I had 5 pallets, right, of this product and it was discovered to have some critical defect where I cannot sell this on Amazon, it'll just destroy the listing and Amazon will probably pull the product before it even gets that far because it's such a serious problem. If I have those 5 pallets worth, 1,200 units at FBA, you can see here their removal price chart, but this product is in the 2 to 4 pound weight tier. It's going to be $6.36 per unit to pull it out of Amazon. So pulling out 1,200 units of this product, if there was a defect issue, would cost me $7,600. But let's say I've sent all that inventory to AWD and I just need to pull an MCD order out because this got discovered with whatever little units I have at FBA. It's going to cost a fraction of it, right? It's going to cost, currently, it'll only cost $723, regardless of how I ship it, which is 90% less. And then after the April 1 pricing change, if my warehouse or where I'm shipping it to is actually close to me, it's even going to be cheaper, $396. Or if it's the furthest possible distance away in the contiguous US, it's still only going to be $1,300 compared to $7,600, right? Just imagine you're dealing with an inventory problem that's like going to cripple your business to some degree because you have to pause sales and deal with these extra overheads when you're hoping to sell product and make profit. How much of a difference would saving between $7,200 and $6,400 do for your company when you're dealing with a problem that challenging, right? It's massive. But not only just the cost savings, if you have this type of problem and you have to do a removal from Amazon, you get a bazillion boxes, Amazon style retail customer buyer boxes full of anywhere from like 12 to 2 units. You get hundreds of them. Every day, the UPS man will be unloading a dolly of packages at your front door for months potentially to get this product back. And then you are going to have the expense and the labor cost of, if this is a problem you can fix by refurbishing these products, you're going to have to repack them all, buy new case pack boxes, seal everything back up again, and restore them into case packs to get them back into FBA. Whereas if you're pulling from AWD, none of that disruption takes place. It's still in the case pack, still all labeled, still all nice and organized, comes to your house in an orderly fashion or wherever you're sending it to, a 3PL, and you can refurbish, fix, or whatever you need to in a dignified way, right? So there's major benefits to using AWD just as a insurance policy on your inventory for these types of problems. So here's the issue, right? Amazon in 2024 introduced the placement fees, introduced the low inventory fee, all sorts of stuff. Now they're raising the prices on AWD. There's always going to be price hikes. It's just what to expect. But what happens whenever this goes on is people on social media and the seller space, they're like, oh my gosh, Amazon's doing this again. They're evil. We need rules, right? We need to go after them. Class action lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. How could they do this to us? This type of thinking, while it maybe helps you feel better in the moment and helps with your emotions, doesn't really help the situation you're finding yourself in if these types of fee increases are hurting your business. Instead, we need to figure out, how do we navigate around this? And in my opinion, the name of the game for Amazon in 2025 is you need to become a master of your inventory management, because every extra penny you're spending through mismanagement of your inventory, sending stuff to the wrong place in the wrong amounts at the wrong times, this is eating up profit that you could be keeping in your business. So you need to learn how to organize your inventory properly so you can stay competitive, keep your business nimble. And the quote that I prefer over the social media whining is from a great guy. He's dead now, named Jim Rohn. But if you're new in business, he's got a lot of great motivational talks. I recommend him. But one of his sayings was, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And it's just the truth. You got to wish things weren't that easy, but wish you were better, because that's how you succeed when others are unwilling and give up, right? All right. So here's where we get into some nitty gritty on the details of how we optimize our logistics and our packaging and everything so that we can best take advantage of systems like AWD. All right. So Liz, you had questions earlier about your case packs, and this is where we're getting into the details on this. So just as an example, right here, we're going to talk about how do we make case packs better, not just for the sake of, we can say that they're better, but so they cost us less money, right? Right now we have an example at the top. This is an okay case pack. It's a small product and it sells pretty well. It's got 32 units in a case pack that's measuring 12 by 12 by 6 inches. So doing all the number crunching with how AWD's fee structure works that I talked about earlier, you're going to pay about $3.85, which works out to about 10 cents a unit on this case pack here. And then going further, if I increase this case pack by nearly double, if I make the box twice the size and how much volume it has, and I can fit twice the amount of units in there, all of a sudden that drops my unit cost by 40% to ship this from AWD to FBA, because that per case fee of $2.70 isn't getting duplicated twice, because I have to send in 2 boxes to get the same amount of units in. But we can go even further than that, and we can go from 1812 by 8 to 20 by 16 by 6, get another 10, 11% of volume, get 6 more units in there, and drop it down another 5% lower than that previous drop, right? Doesn't make that big of a difference when you look at the numbers here, but then we'll see what happens when you palletize. If this is a high volume product and you're selling hundreds or even thousands a month, saving, like half a cent a unit is a lot of money, right? Okay. So then what happens with this same product is when we're going to palletize it, we got to think about palletizing too, right? If we go with that original case pack, 12 by 12 by 6, that only holds 32 units, it's fine. 48 by 40 by 72 is the limitations for palletizing when you're sending into Amazon. Maxing that pallet out, we can fit 4,224 units per pallet. Okay. But what happens is if we go up to this better case pack for Amazon AWD pricing, right, we're going to save that 40% from 10 cents a unit to 6 cents a unit. There's a cost incurred here because even though we can fit more units per box, this case pack isn't as optimal for putting on a pallet. Because look, we can only get 4,096 units per pallet. That's like about 130 less or something, right? Now, that's still going to save you money in the big scheme of things because you're only losing like 5% capacity on the pallet, but you're saving 40% per unit on your shipping costs. But we go to this excellent case pack, right? The best of the best, the 20 by 16 by 6. And if you can fit those 70 units in that case pack works even better than the other case pack at the beginning for palletizing. And you can actually get 4620 units per pallet. So you're increasing how much capacity per pallet by almost 10%. And you're going to pay the same price, right? That extra, the extra 10% in weight is not going to increase your freight costs at all if you're palletizing really ever, maybe the tiniest bit, but it's not going to go up by 10%, that's for sure. Okay, so let's get into how you take advantage of AWD right now before this price change. This is the opportunity. There's these windows of opportunity whenever Amazon makes a change in how their fee structure is, whatever their incentives are. There's an opportunity to get in early with what is the optimal strategy and capture an advantage for your business that not many sellers are going to capture. And that's going to give you competitive advantage so that you can better compete with your competitors and get an edge, right? Be more hardy as a business, more able to thrive and outpace the competition. So what's happening with this price change, as I talked about before, the processing fee on a box going from AWD into FBA through their replenishment program is going from $2.13 a box on the tail end when they pull it to $135 on the way in and $135 on the way out. So what is happening is Amazon is effectively instigating or incorporating receiving fees with their AWD warehousing. But until April 1st, so now through March 31st, the receiving fees are still zero. So if they're zero now, and the outbound is going down after April 1, then that means instead of paying $213 for stuff that you send now and then ship into FBA before April 1st, if you ship stuff in now that you don't need to ship into FBA until April 1st, that $213 actually goes down to $135. So you can capture an extra 78 cents per box in savings if you ship stuff in now rather than waiting till after the price hike. So if you have large amounts of inventory that you are trying to destine to Amazon before March 31st, I highly recommend you send it to AWD and take advantage of these savings. Here's an example of the same situation with the pricing, but if you take advantage of these savings, right? So you remember before, right now, I was paying 40 cents a unit on this type of product at the top, the 12 unit case, but that's going up to 52 cents a unit when the price change happens. If I take advantage of this window of time where I can get it into Amazon at AWD with zero receiving, but then it actually ships into FBA after the price change and the outbound goes down in price, I can actually get my costs down 5% lower than they currently are with AWD. So yes, this is a technical, very convoluted, you got to be in the space to understand all this stuff. I know it's a lot of math. I apologize, but just understand this takeaway. If you can load up AWD right now with as much of your inventory as possible, you set yourself up for as far into Q2, maybe even Q3, depending on how much inventory you have, to lock in the lowest shipping costs of getting your inventory throughout Amazon's network. Right now, I'm already preparing clients for this, loading up AWD as much as possible so that all through, April, May, June, any inventory that I've already prepared into Amazon's warehousing network, that inventory is locked in at the lowest possible logistics rates so that profits stay high, costs stay low as long as possible. So the big picture here is that to really do an Amazon business well, you need to have your logistics dialed in, your supply chain figured out. And the game is changing a little bit. In 2020, when COVID hit and Amazon set all sorts of restrictions on how much inventory you could send in for new products and 30-day shipment delays on non-essential items, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff, it forced Amazon sellers to incorporate 3PLs into their business almost entirely across the board. If you didn't, you were storing it at your house in your garage and shipping into FBA that way. So what's happened is now there's this natural standard of you get your stuff produced in mass in China or wherever, you ship it to your 3PL where they can bulk receive it, and there's not all these fees and stuff from Amazon with long-term storage fees and blah, blah, blah. And then you drip feed it into FBA from your 3PL. But in 2024, when they introduced the placement fees, for a lot of people, that tripled their inbound shipping costs to get into FBA. So if it costs you $100 to do a standard shipment that you're always doing, regularly topping up your FBA, all of a sudden that became $300. And that hurt the bottom line of a lot of companies. So now with AWD, this is the main way you can circumvent these extreme shipping costs. And one of the things that I'm even recommending to people, depending on their business, is you can actually skip doing a 3PL and send your stuff straight to AWD from your supplier. And then even if you have a 3PL that you do need for certain things, as Todd mentioned in the beginning, you could actually send all your stuff to AWD and then just send what you need, small amount from AWD to your 3PL. So they have stuff to manage for you that you need. But then the rest of it is going into this low cost, easy to manage, structure warehouse that's already set to feed into your FBA without overloading FBA, and everything looks good. So this is kind of the new logistics of the 2020s in my mind when it comes to Amazon. And the better you understand it and the better you optimize for it, the better you can thrive on Amazon, make more profit, and be able to get a step ahead of your competition. The other thing to mention is that with AWD, you're not dealing with the complications of a typical 3PL. I mentioned this in the beginning that their pricing model is very predictable and very controllable. One of the issues with 3PLs is sometimes they have different standards that are hard to navigate around. Because for instance, I mentioned earlier, a max pallet to go into FBA can be 72 inches high. But some 3PLs, they have to normalize all of their pallet storage to 60 inches because that's how it fits on their shelves. So if you were to send 72-inch high pallets, say from your supplier, to their warehouse, they're actually going to have to deconstruct all your pallets and then reconstruct them to 60 inches high. And guess what? They're going to charge you for that. They're going to charge you whatever it is, 20 bucks an hour, 18 bucks an hour for the labor for that. And that's just an added expense that brings your company no value. It's just to fit in their system. Amazon doesn't have those requirements. They're just going to charge you based on how many boxes, what's the size of the boxes. Very consistent. Also, Amazon, for all of its issues, it has much less human error than normal small businesses, right? So when you're sending stuff to Amazon, it's a pretty safe bet that you're going to be able to predict your storage costs just by looking at how much cubic footage you have stored at Amazon. Whereas with a 3PL, I've had issues where you get a bill one time because you sent in 1,000 units in, say, 10 case packs to FBA from the 3PL. And instead of them charging a pick and pack fee for 10 cases, AKA like maybe 20 bucks, they charged a pick and pack fee for 1,000 units, which ended up being like 500 bucks. And you have to catch these things. You have to look at the bills and be like, okay, you guys overcharged us for this. Can you fix that? You get a refund or a credit. You have to hassle them to get the credit applied because a month later they forget to put it on the next bill. You don't have to deal with that when you're doing your bulk storage in Amazon. For all of Amazon's failings, these are the areas where Amazon does things well. So let's get into a case study here. This is the type of work that we do for people that I'm teaching you how to do right now. And if you implement these things, you can see some major benefits to your company. So let's take a look. Right now, we still work with this client. They started up in September. They were averaging about $150K a month in their sales. And they had a lot of issues. A lot of stuff was overstocked with long-term storage fees. Man, they were paying way too much to send their stuff into Amazon because they weren't doing it in an optimal way. They weren't organizing well, and they weren't using AWD. They were just sending straight into FBA, paying a ton of placement fees. I'm sure many people can relate. So what happened is we started working with them. I know this chart is hard to read, but this is the best data I can give you. Basically, to give you the overview of this, the before situation is in the yellow portion of the year, January through April of 2024, they were paying about 58 cents a unit to send their stuff into FBA. And they shipped in about 29,000 units over that course of 4 months. And it cost them $16,725. This is before placement fees have kicked in. But then when placement fees started charging in the orange section, they started paying thousands and thousands of dollars more. During that period of time, May through September, they shipped in 51,600 units and it cost them $38,000, 74 cents a unit that works out to. So the first thing that we started doing is fixing their shipping strategy. We were like, guys, you're doing so many products, you're doing so many units, you just need to be doing FTLs into AWD as often as possible and get those shipping costs down. So this is what happened after we got them organized properly. October through January, so just this past month completed, we shipped in almost 76,000 units. Now Q4 was involved, so higher volumes. This is a longer period too. It only cost $22,500. So we got them from 74 cents a unit inbound to FBA down to 30 cents a unit on average. So you just do the math, 76,000 units times almost 50 cents. It was $33,000 we saved this company over 4 months just by stopping wasting money and shipping things the wrong way, right? By managing your logistics and your inventory correctly, you can make money, right? So think of it this way. If you have a supplier and you're like, oh man, I know some of these competitors, Chinese sellers out there, their costs are not as high as mine, right? And you're like, how can I negotiate? And the tariffs came in, prices are going up. What if instead of going through ways to lower your costs that have no guarantee of working, you just find ways to lower your costs that you can fully control by optimizing how you operate better, right? If you're able to ship in your product to Amazon for 5 cents less a unit, whatever your selling price is, that 5 cents is pure profit you have recaptured and gained in your business just by doing things differently in a better way. So what could you do with an extra 4% profit in your business if you're doing quite a bit of sales, right? I think that would be, it could be another employee, could be a vacation every year, could be a lot of things, right? So that's what we encourage everybody to do. And now I'm going to have Todd jump back on because he's going to show a demo of some AMZ Scout software, which you can also use to help your business figure out how to grow. One of the things that when you're dealing with an inventory business, an Amazon business, you cannot just stay a single hero product company if you want to survive, if you want to thrive and grow. You get that one hero product, your business gets off the ground, your inventory management is pretty straightforward. But once you need to grow and compete, your logistics gets much more complicated, multiple suppliers, multiple shipments, multiple destinations. And you need to find the next new product that actually works for your brand, that isn't a conflict. You're not just doing random stuff that's trending. You want to find stuff that fits with your audience and build your audience. Expand your product line in a way where you can upsell and upsell and upsell to the same people over and over that already trust and like you. And so, yeah, Todd, take it away. Show us how we can use the software to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And 100% on that, Jackson. That's one of the things that the client that Jackson was just talking about, that's one of the things they were able to do. We were able to reduce their costs, significantly on their logistics side and fees, and therefore they had more profit available to expand their catalog. And that's one of the things that they're doing, is rapidly expanding their catalog now that a lot of their logistics and everything is laid out. So I just wanted to show you guys some cool features in the AMZ Scout plugins that they have available to help you find different products in your niche. And so I already pulled up a potential niche here that you so let's say I'm going at this in a way that you're already selling products in a niche and you're building a brand, right? And you're looking for new products to add to your brand. If you're new to selling on Amazon and you don't already have a brand or a product even that you want to sell, that's definitely something you want to put front and center, is building a brand. If you're going to be successful on Amazon these days, you need to build a brand. You can't be jumping around all over the place and, sell some shoes and then some reptile terrariums and then we're selling some teddy bears or something like that, because it's not cohesive. You really want to try to build a brand. So to show you guys some of the cool things in the AMZ Scout tools, I pulled up this category here for reptile terrariums, which is a pretty specific niche. And I recommend that, you go into a specific niche if you haven't started already. The more specific, the better. As they say, the riches are in the niches. So go into a niche and then you can expand out from there as you build your brand if necessary. But this one I thought was pretty cool with the data that I found using the AMZ Scout tools. So I essentially just went to the best sellers for reptile terrariums. So Amazon lists you 100 of their top products, 50 on each page here, of products that you could potentially look at selling and are already selling well on Amazon. Now, what you'd want to do on a page like this is click on the AMZ Scout Pro AI extension tool, which if you don't already have that, you can download that from AMZ Scout and install it into your Chrome browser and be able to get this screen that I'm going to show you, which I've already loaded on this next page here. Nope. Did I close it? I closed the screen, so let me load it here. So when you click on the tool, it's going to bring up a bunch of information about the products that are on the screen. That's going to tell you, a lot of information about it, how many they're selling, how many sellers are on each one, what their listing quality score is, which is right here. The product score for private label. And I've got a filter here, so I got to turn that off to get those back. So a lot of really cool information. I like the product score for private label because it gives you some good information about that product, which we're going to dive into in a little bit. But right now, I just wanted to show you what it's showing me here is that the first 50 results have an average monthly revenue. So that's an average monthly revenue of $17,970 per month. And an average price of $66. That average price I really like. More expensive products, preferably over $20, even better over $30 is going to be your kind of ideal target range. If you're in, the United States, Canada, the UK, you're going to want those more expensive products so you can have more margin available to be competing with the sellers that are selling direct from places like China who are going to have lower overhead than what you're going to have in the USA or Canada or the UK or something like that. The average number of reviews, it tells you here right away as well. All of this is really cool, a lot of good information. But if I jump to this next tab, what I'm going to do is enter some filters here. So I entered these filters, and I should mention too that I clicked this load more button. You've got this load more button so you can load the next page and keep loading more products. But it takes a little bit of time to pull that. For the interest of time, I already had it loaded up in this other window here. And set some filters here. Now you can play with these filters depending on what you're looking for. But I said, show me products that are at least $30 or more, have a bad star rating, so a maximum of 3.9 stars. So I can look for potentially bad products that are selling well that I can improve on. And so I also said, show me only products that have at least $4,000 in sales per month, and get rid of the sponsored products for me. So I'm only looking at actual products that are on the page. And when I applied that, it came back with only 2 different products out of those 100 best sellers that we could potentially look at improving and then selling. So if we open each one of those up, basically what it's coming back as are both of these are reptile terrarium humidifiers, I should say. So they're humidifiers for a terrarium, which if you're not familiar with what a terrarium is, it's basically you create an environment for like reptiles, like frogs, chameleons, and things like that to live in as pets in your house, right? So it's a relatively big niche. A lot of people like to do this and have fun with their pets, essentially. But these misters will make the humidity right for them. But it looks like there's at least 2 of them in the top 100 best-selling products on Amazon that have really bad reviews. So then you can dive into those reviews and figure out, what's wrong with these products. What could I potentially fix on them, improve on them to make a product that I can add to my brand that I have for reptiles. So perhaps I have a reptile brand. Maybe I sell some terrariums for them. I sell the food for them. I sell various other products for them. And I'm looking for other products to add in. And so these potentially would be very good products that you could sell. And what's really cool in the software is they do have some new AI tools that can actually give you a little bit of insights on these products to help you determine what perhaps you can improve on them or what's already good about the market and things like that. So if you click on the product that you want to look at, so let's look at this top one here. You've got this AI product analysis that we can click on. And in just a few seconds here, it analyzes that product and looks at all the information of the product to give you insights and then also product improvements. So as we mentioned already, this is a higher priced product. And so it's saying this likely has high net margins, which is good. We definitely want high net margins. It's got an established presence doing 7,000 a month, estimated 190 sales. It's in the pet supply category, which is a growing market. It has product flexibility with adjustable spray nozzles. Its weaknesses, it has relatively low customer rating, which we know we already looked at that. That's what we're targeting. It has no variations, so potentially we could add variations. There's opportunity to improve the product, obviously. And the presence of competitive products in the market could challenge price competitiveness and conversion rates. So these are threats to the current product. So it's potentially a competitive product and has a lot of fluctuations in demand. So this is really cool, the product insights. You can get an idea of the product. But what I like even better is this AI product improvement. If you click up here at the top. So this will give you ideas on ways to actually improve this product when we're going to go ahead and make our own version of it. So tips for improving. Enhance the product's durability and material quality. So it's analyzing the current comments and reviews of the product and the information on the product to determine what people are complaining about. So what they're mostly complaining about is the durability of the product and the material quality. So considering the product is used for terrariums, durability is crucial for maintaining consistent performance in humid environments. The current rating of 3.6 suggests that customers may have concerns about durability or build quality. Invest in higher quality, water-resistant materials can improve the product's longevity and customer satisfaction. And then some different information about the metrics and how to make the product better. So it gives you kind of a high-level overview of ways to potentially improve this product. So what I would do next is really dive into this product and look at in more depth the reviews, look at the complaints of the reviews, and talk with my supplier in how I could potentially make this product better. Maybe we use a better material. Maybe we can use some, rust resistant stainless steel that doesn't leak, doesn't crack, doesn't break. Or maybe we could use better sealant in the product to make sure it's not leaking, things like that. But you'd really want to dive into the product to determine exactly how you can improve it. The other thing that's really cool here too, to keep digging deeper, is you can get the keywords of these products. So this is something that I do frequently to determine, exactly what keywords this product is using and ranking for in its product. I'm actually going to do that for the second one I wanted to dive into. All right, so for example, let's go with reptile terrarium stands. If you wanted to potentially look at that market closer, you can actually click on that keyword. It opens up a search for you. And what I want to show you for that is right up here on top. And actually, you know what? I don't want to dive into that one. I'm going to dive into this one I already have open so we don't have to wait for it to load. So this is a niche terrarium water mister, which is what we were looking at here, right? These are both terrarium water misters. And right up at the top here, they've got a couple of cool scores called visibility score and niche score. So if you put your mouse over this, it says 0% of our users have found this niche. So that is telling me that not a lot of people are looking at this niche to potentially start selling. So there's a possibility that you're going to have lower competition on this product for when you start selling it, because there's not a lot of people out there that are diving into this niche currently. And then the other really cool thing up top here is called the niche score, which if we click on that, this is a 7 out of 10. So it's good, but not great, but it's telling you exactly why it's good. So higher prices in this niche, which is a good thing, as we already mentioned. Potential for high profit margin. It has high sales, which is good. Not great, really high sales, but good high sales. And the niche is quite old, which gives it a little bit of a downgrade from being high for the overall score instead of good. And then it tells you about the competition here as well. It's not a very saturated niche, which is awesome. That's exactly what we're looking for. Not a lot of Amazon sellers. very low top brand competition. This is something that you really want to look for. So there's some niches that you go into that maybe the top 1, 2, or 3 products dominate all of the sales for that niche. Those kind of niches are going to be extremely hard to break into and get a foothold in versus niches like this one, where the people who are in the, those top 10 to 20 slots are not getting a super high, large percentage of the sales. So it's a lot more spread out, which means you can take a good percentage of those sales a lot easier. They've also got very low listing quality. So if you can make a perfect listing, you can stand out from the crowd. Low average rating. So overall, the products, they're not great ratings overall. Not monopolistic, so you won't be competing with a lot of very strong sellers with super high seller feedback. But they do have some products that have a lot of reviews. So that was a down vote on this niche. So overall, they give it a 7 out of 10. But I like this niche because of the desired price is high, potential for a good margin, and a really low brand competition. So, if you were building a brand around reptiles as pets, this is potentially something that would be really good for you to add to your brand and add it into your catalog of products. So that's why I really like these tools for analyzing that and looking at the information in the niche. So if you're not doing these things already and you're just starting out selling on Amazon, definitely take advantage of these tools to find niches that you can sell in and analyze them. Now, one thing that I do tell a lot of people who are just starting out, you want to find a niche that you know something about, ideally, something that gives you an advantage over me. I don't know a lot about reptiles, so personally, I wouldn't be selling reptile products probably. I'm more of, an outdoors person. I like hiking, for example. So I might sell products in hiking because I know a lot about hiking. I know what makes good hiking products and what doesn't. And that gives me a leg up over people who don't know anything about it. So keep that in mind as well when you're looking at niches to sell in. Find a niche that you know something about. All right, so I could keep going into these tools and showing you a lot more, but I just wanted to give you an overview of some of the cool features that they have in there, that you can use their tools to help you find products that you can potentially sell on Amazon and niches that you could potentially go into as well. So hopefully that gave you some cool ideas on how to, find niches and such, and find new products to potentially sell in your market if you're already selling on Amazon. So let's go ahead and dive into the rest of this here. I'm going to grab a drink. So what should be your next step in terms of, finding products to sell or getting your logistics in order, right? If you already have a product, you think your logistics are messed up, like you could probably be saving a lot of money, or you want to get things going great from the start. We've got a pretty cool offer here that you can take advantage of through this webinar that we're doing. So one thing that we do over at Amazon Storage Pros is we provide Amazon storage and fees audits. So we can dive into your account. If you're already selling, this is really great for those of you already selling. We can either get access into your account, so you can give us permissions as a user. We can dive into your account, or you can provide the information for us. But ideally, we get access to your account, and we can really tell you exactly where you're overspending on your Amazon storage and where you're overpaying with those storage fees, and give you a clear idea on what you're spending now and how much ideally you should be spending. So you can see how big of a delta that is. And we'll give you tips, expert tips that we use with clients on things that will help you slash those fees. So it's a great tool that we offer to analyze your current account and find out exactly where you're spending too much on those storage costs and fees that Amazon, that can really add up on Amazon if you're not being careful with your storage and logistics. The next thing that we're offering in this bundle is a 1-hour strategy call with Jackson. As I mentioned in the beginning, you know, I'm pretty good at logistics. I run a really good business and I have my logistics laid out well. And I've helped a lot of people do the same. But Jackson is even better than I am. And he is great at jumping on a call and helping you get control of your logistics or answering specific questions and things like that that you may have. So we're including one of those 1-hour strategy calls with you in this bundle as well. And of course, you're going to get a 1-year access to the AMZ Scout AI tool set, which of course is everything that I showed you, plus a lot of things that we didn't have time to get into. So what I was showing you is the Pro AI extension, but they've all got all these other really cool things as well, like the product database for looking up products and researching. A lot of those filters I showed you in the tool, you can do that in the product database as well to try to find potential products that you can sell. Reverse ASIN lookups to help you find products to sell as well. Amazon keyword searches to help you find keywords that you can use in your listings and optimize your listings. They've got some cool AI listing builders that can help you build out your listings and stuff as well. And lots of really great stuff that's included in those tools that you're going to get. You're going to get the AMZ Pro AI extension, which is what I was just going over. Really, those kind of extensions are critical. I use those extensions to look at products all the time, get estimates of how many they're selling, look at your competitors. You can look at all your competitors' keywords and everything else to help build your own listings and just overall find products and stuff. Estimate your costs as well to see how much your competitors are paying to store their products, how much your competitors are paying for their FBA fees and all that, to get an idea on how much your fees are going to be also. It also does, as I showed there, the SWOT analysis, which was in that little red square you're seeing there, the AI product analysis that we clicked on to see the AI generated information about the product, potential improvements for your product, ideas on improving the products, how the niche is, and cool things like that with that AI extension. The product database, which I mentioned, I got ahead of myself there, but this is an example of the product database. So all those same filters that we showed in the extension, you can do in the database as well as dig into specific categories. And it's basically a product database of millions of products on Amazon that potentially could be good for you to sell and improve. The keyword search, the reverse lookups. So essentially, it helps you find relevant keywords for your listing, for running your ads, and also building out your listing. You know, I use these in tools for ads, but I also really like to use it for analyzing my competitors' listings. I mean, you can essentially steal all the information from your Amazon from your competitors, find out exactly what keywords they're using and focusing on so you can make sure to include those in your own listing and also advertise against those keywords as well. So, these kind of tools are really just a necessity for selling on Amazon these days. You need some way to dig into your competition and determine what they're doing so that you can do the same and improve upon what they're doing. All right, so then also AMZ Scout is throwing in these extra bonuses. So a report with ideas for booming categories. So if you have no idea where you want to sell, this can be a really good way to look at this report and find some categories that potentially you could sell in and see if they'd be a good fit for you. Like I said, you don't want to just jump into any category. So make sure these categories are good fits for you. But it can give you a really good idea on categories that are, really taking off and maybe good categories for you to jump into. They've got a really cool review guide as well on how to get reviews, which is super painful now that Amazon, you used to, for those of you that are new, 10 years ago, you could basically used to be able to buy reviews, right? You'd give away free product to people, and then they would leave you a quote honest review. Hopefully they were leaving honest, but Amazon cracked down on that because a lot of people were just basically buying reviews. The black hat people ruined it for all of us. So now reviews are super hard to get, but they've got a guide that's going to walk you through how to try to get those reviews more efficiently. And then a guide for how to appear on the first page of Amazon in search results. So this is essentially going to be your step-by-step guide on launching your listing and getting to the top of page one, which takes a lot of work. Anybody out there that's trying to say, oh yeah, just launch this product, you're going to be making millions of dollars. That ain't how Amazon works. It never really worked that way. There's a lot of gurus out there trying to sell you to get rich quick on Amazon. But that's not the case. Amazon is a real business, takes a lot of work, and it's still one of the best places to launch a business. You can launch a business on Amazon and build a business on Amazon a lot cheaper than building a retail store or a restaurant or something like that. And you have a lot more upside. But it takes a lot of work. So getting these guides, getting the software, taking advantage of our coaching call that we have, and taking advantage of our logistics services as well can really put you ahead of everybody out there that's also trying to sell, including all those sellers that are selling direct from China and things like that. You really have to be honed in these days to grow your business on Amazon. Another cool thing, they're going to give you a list of 100 suppliers from the USA and Europe. Now, you can go over to Alibaba, right? If you're familiar with selling on Amazon at all, you've probably heard of Alibaba, which is the product database or supplier database, I should say, for suppliers, mostly in China, but outside of China as well. But it's very difficult to know exactly which suppliers are good, which suppliers are bad. So they're going to give you a list of 100 suppliers that you can use in U.S. Suppliers from U.S. and Europe, I should say, not China. So these are suppliers from the U.S. and Europe because you never know what suppliers are good, what suppliers are bad. And now with the U.S. increasing tariffs on China, which Trump keeps going back and forth right now, but it definitely looks like there's going to be some kind of tariffs on China. Finding potential suppliers in the US and Europe could be very beneficial. So all of that, the Amazon Storage Pros audit, the call with Jackson, the AMZ Scout bundle, all the reports, the 3 extra bonuses, the 100 suppliers in the US and Europe. If we added the value of all that together, that's going to be $1,991.99. So a lot of value there, but you guys are going to be able to get it today for $549. So that includes everything that we talked about there. The storage and fees audit from Storage Pros, Amazon Storage Pros, the 1-hour strategy call with Jackson, the 1-year subscription to AMZ Scout Seller Bundle, the 3 bonus guides that we mentioned, and a list of 100 suppliers from US and Europe. All of that normally $1,991. Today, you guys can get that for $549. So we've got a couple QR codes there. You can scan those to take advantage of that today if you want to take advantage of that. If you're interested in paying in full, you can scan that QR code on the left, or we've got an option for you to pay in 4 payments using Klarna, which is going to be for the USA sellers only, unfortunately. But all these services have their restrictions. So those of you in the US can take advantage of that. Otherwise, for those of you, as we've seen in Canada, in London, and various other places around the country, you can take advantage of the QR code on the left there. You can also go to the URL on the bottom there, amzscout.net/get/bundle-audit. So if you want to type it in and you don't like using the QR codes, you can definitely type that in as well, which we've got that here on the next page also. So same QR codes here, but this is just showing you if you wanted to break it down into 4 payments and you're in the US, you can go ahead and take advantage of that by clicking on the Klarna app there or the Klarna button versus paying in full. You can pay later in 4 different payments as well. They will charge you an APR on that, so just keep that in mind. But if you want to break it up, you can definitely do that. And you're going to get all those cool things in the bundle that we just talked about. All right, so yeah, just a summary here. Again, everything that's in the bundle there. And this is available only for today on this call. So outside of this call, outside of this webinar, you're going to be paying the $1,991 if you were to buy everything full price. Today, only $549 if you guys want to take advantage of that. And we're giving you a 10-day refund guarantee as well. So if you get that and you're like, maybe this isn't for me now that I've been using the tools and digging into it, looking for products, or maybe you, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. If for whatever reason you don't think it's going to work for you, or you don't like what you get, which I highly doubt that'll be the case, but you've got a 10-day refund guarantee there. All you got to do is email support@amzscout.net to get that refund on that purchase if you choose to do so. So that is basically everything that we've got for the bundle and for all the information that we went over there. Hopefully that helped you guys. Let's see, do we have any other questions out there? If you guys got any questions, throw them in the Q&A or throw them in the chat, ideally in the Q&A, and we can dive into them here. So Jackson, did you see any questions there while I was going over the bundle? Oh, you're muted, Jackson.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
there you go. Now
I don't think there's any more technical Amazon questions yet. Liz has asked, what if her AMZ Scout subscription is still good through July 28th? I wonder if one of the admin people could pipe in on that one, because I wouldn't know the answer to that. I imagine you could probably.
Yeah, hopefully the admin can jump in. I don't know if they can give you an extension, perhaps. Liz,
yeah, or either extend it or maybe like
that.
Give you a prorated refund on what you've already paid, and then you take advantage of this for the next year, something like that. Yeah, I think Klarna, there's no interest on the 4 payment plan, but every other one there is.
Yeah, let's go back to that real quick. So There is, so you do have an APR method in up to 4 payments, interest free. So if you go beyond the 4 payments, or if you do the three monthly payments, it's also an APR. So you want to select the 4 interest free payments. So that you can get the no APR. So yeah, if you want to break it up, and pay in 4 payments, you can utilize that and you don't have any interest that's added on to that. But any of the other options, if you want to make it longer than that, it's going to charge you the interest.
Yeah. So one thing I was thinking about though is if Liz is still live with us, I can ask her more questions based on the stuff she's already asking. And we'll see if get some more info in here. She had mentioned her case size at one point in here. Let's see.
And while you're, it looks like you ran the poll. Cool. I was just going to say we should.
Yeah, I ran that earlier.
So we just ran a poll just to see how big of sellers everybody is. So we've got 14% over 200,000, 28% between 10 and 50,000, and 57% under 10,000. So a lot of new sellers out there. So if you're new, you've got a lot of company on the webinar as well, but also some sellers that are doing quite good. Mm-hmm. I'm in the 200,000 plus per month. So I'm with whoever those people are in that 14% as well. And yeah, awesome to see a good spread of people there on the webinar.
Yeah. So Liz had mentioned before she's selling vitamins and flats. And I'm not sure what you meant by flats, Liz. Maybe you clarify that. But 16 by 12 by 10 shipping cartons are okay. But it depends on, it sounds like maybe you're doing mixed cases where you've been sending multiple products in a single case pack. If your stuff is lower volume. So if that's the case, then you wouldn't be able to do that sort of thing using AWD. You would need to have single SKU case packs for AWD. But in general, if you're doing low volume and sending in SPD shipments, so just normal retail parcels into FBA, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference in changing your case pack. But if you're doing higher volumes, then we could certainly improve your carton size to be able to fit more stuff on a pallet. So there's definitely that, but I'm not sure if that's where things are at yet. Let's see. Okay, she's in the, let's see. No mixed cases. Okay, cool. That's good. So if you're doing enough volume for no mixed cases, then certainly, like just going back to that other chat, 16 by 12 by 10, I can tell you right off the bat that if you could make that 20 by 12 by 10 or 20 by 12 by 8, or if you could make it 16 by 20 by whatever height, those sorts of things are going to be ideal because, like, let's see, more realistic size might be if you were to do like 16 by 13 by 10, you could just increase it ever so slightly. But then if you're going to do a large amount on a pallet into AWD and stock up for a while there, as long as your expiration dates give you enough leeway for that and you have the means to get a good chunk of inventory sent into AWD, you could preload your Amazon stock and just have it automate most of the time for the next several months and save a lot of money on your overall costs. Just depends on if you're doing enough volume to be able to ship in, 2-3 months worth of inventory up front. Sounds like you're producing in the US, typically vitamins are. So probably, I'm guessing your supply chain is a little bit more just in time. So that may or may not be helpful.
Yeah, she says that her expiration dates keep us from sending in too many. So that makes me think she has a relatively short expiration date window, perhaps.
Yeah, the products must be more volatile than your typical supplement. But yeah, Liz, let's see. Larger boxes only be larger bottle sizes. Cannot send in more than 50 to 300 times per SKU. Okay. Okay. That gives a little bit more clarity. So you can't increase the amount of bottles per box. You could only increase the bottle size if you made larger boxes. That's interesting. First SKU made in the USA. Okay. Well, there's a lot of information flowing in my head of what I'm missing to be able to give some high level tips. But one thing I do know, Liz, is the main way to save a ton of money using AWD is to be doing a lot of sales, be a bigger account, and need to send in a lot of inventory. But AWD did recently, this was just about September of last year, they unlocked the ability to send in small parcel shipments into AWD. It used to only be LTL or FTLs, right? So technically speaking, you can still use AWD with maybe your top 3, top 5 best-selling SKUs, as long as you're sending in case packs. The other tricky part is sometimes, depending on the sales volume of a product line, like say, for instance, it's a really small product and you only sell 30 units a month, you might not want to send in a case pack that holds 150 units, because although that might be cheaper from a transition to AWD to FBA cost standpoint, every time that case pack moves into FBA, you're stocking FBA with 5 months worth of stock. So it might not make sense. And it might actually make more sense to send in case packs that are like 60 units, where every time you reload from AWD, you're putting in 2 months of inventory, something like that, or maybe 45. Let's see. Visitor says, hi, we'd like to start selling for Florida only. Could we set it up that way in MCF or AWD? So yeah, actually AWD's most recently opened location is in South Carolina. So shipping out of Florida is going to be rather convenient if you're trying to store stuff there. I assume that when you say start selling for Florida only, that you're talking about where your product is located, because if you sell on Amazon, you can't limit it to Florida. So, so yeah, if your inventory is originating in Florida, then you can certainly store it in AWD, and there's a way to do that cost effectively. Niche Vitamin Company. So some SKUs only sell 100 per year, others sell 200 per month. So yeah, the ones that are selling 200 a month are certainly quality candidates to start utilizing AWD in the optimal way. So for instance, Amazon's preference is 150 units max per case. So for the product that sells 200 a month, I would be figuring out, how can I get 150 units in a case if possible? I'd be figuring out how to get as many units in a case as possible, under 50 pounds, no more than 150 units. And I would be formatting the case pack box so that it is optimal for your cost structure with AWD. And then I would be sending those into AWD as quickly as I could, as many as I could, before the deadline in March, and reaping the benefits of that. So yeah, easy. If you can fit 150 and you know that they're going to sell before your expiration date, then it just becomes a matter of sending the max amount you can that keeps you safe for expiration. Because one of the things with Amazon too is that it's not just like, okay, this expires in say December of 2025. So as long as I get it into Amazon before December of 2025, Amazon's going to start rejecting and marking unfulfillable items that expire in like 1 to 2 months, because they know that the customer needs some time with the product before it expires too. So you got to make sure that you're not sending in stuff that's going to get within like 90 days of its expiration date. Otherwise, there's risk of Amazon just disposing of it and not selling it, even if it's technically going to be usable, just because they're trying to be consumer friendly. So yeah, Liz, there's definitely, it looks like there's some opportunity for you to get your costs down and simplify things, actually, because doing a single shipment into AWD, I know from experience, is much easier than doing multiple shipments into FBA all the time. So yeah, any other questions, everybody? bring them on. You don't even have to ask questions just about logistics. Like, Todd and I both run ads. Todd and I both do all sorts of stuff inside Amazon. So.
Yeah, it's I get asked a lot, or I see the question a lot, is it still good to start selling on Amazon? So this is for those people who are new. And it definitely is, if you're going into it with the right mindset, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
And that it's a real business. It's not just a get rich quick kind of thing, like people used to think it was. It never really was that, but it used to be more of the Wild West. Now it's maturing a lot more now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's still a lot of opportunity, but you have to treat it like a real business, run it like a real business, and keep building your brand. Focus on building a brand. You've got your products catalog all around a similar niche. You got your website. You're maybe building your email list outside of Amazon, and building an actual brand. Maybe eventually at some point you sell in retail and things like that as well. You got to be, thinking about all this stuff down the line. You don't want to get analysis paralysis or anything. You want to start where you're at and take the next step. If you don't have a product launched yet, don't be thinking about how you're going to run ads. First, figure out how to find the product that you're going to sell.
So Liz has another question here. She says, the low selling SKUs, is it more cost effective to send them to you or direct to FBA? So Todd and I don't operate any warehouses ourselves. Well, Todd's got his own warehouse for his own store, but we're not a 3PL. We are just inventory managers, specialists, consultants, essentially. So we can help you with all things management when it comes to your inventory, but we don't own a 3PL business. And but we'll operate with 3PLs. We will do the work with your 3PL if you have one. And so you wouldn't send anything to us unless we wanted to start a business storing stuff at our houses. So sending for the lower stuff, yes, sending to FBA would probably be the most cost effective, but the timing and the array of that is the factor to figure out, because as things changed last year with placement fees, it's a situation of, do you break it up into 5 parts? Do you send it to one close location? Sometimes, depending on your origin location, it still ends up being cheaper to just send one load to some nearby warehouse and pay the placement fees, because sometimes Amazon will want you to route some of those packages to the complete other side of the country, and the shipping cost for those packages that go way further away sometimes is more expensive than just paying the placement fees, which is annoying, but it is what it is. So
yeah, it's with the slow moving SKUs, the ones you mentioned that are doing like 100 a year or something like that, I think that works out to like 8 or 9 a month. So you're only going to want 45 days, 60 days at the most in FBA. So you're only talking about 16 to 20 units. So for those, Jackson, I'd imagine she'd probably want to do like a mixed SKU box. Just pack up a box of 150 if she has that many that are slow sellers, and just do the single placement.
Yeah. Typically that can work out much better, especially if you're if you're pretty close to a large metro center where Amazon's going to route you to a zone 1 distance warehouse, then it typically is cheaper. Okay, so visitor says, we're just starting. We're interested in strategy calls. Jackson, how can we set up? So if you're not prepared to take advantage of the deal today, you can also reach out to us directly, just amazonstoragepros.com and book a call. They're more expensive when you're booking them directly. We're not part of this deal. So if you can take advantage of the deal, go for it. Otherwise, we're available through our website. Everything gets sent to FBA, whether you manage it or not. So yeah, Liz, the management that we do is that we are managing the operations inside your Amazon account, essentially. So if you're sending from a US-based supplier, or you're using a 3PL in the US and your supplier from either overseas or in the US or wherever else is shipping to that 3PL. And then from the 3PL, we're sending to Amazon, or if you're sending directly from your supplier to Amazon, however your logistics supply chain works, we come in and become the operator. Like for our full service management, we become the operator of that aspect of your business. If you don't have the means or the desire for full service, then we can come in as ad hoc one-time consultants, or we can come in as regular advisory with a contract to, help your business with good advice on an ongoing basis.
Yep. For her last question there's no really way to control where Amazon puts your inventory. They're going to spread it around to try to get the best shipping rates and the fastest shipping to customers in the end. So last we looked it up, we just looked it up, Jackson. I think it was 140 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature that your product needs to be able to withstand to go into the FBA warehouses. At least it's supposed to. There's some products that I sell that are technically not rated that high, but Amazon still lets us send them in and they do fine. But those are the guidelines that Amazon gives.
Yeah, part of that is they're just kind of technically covering their butts, right? Where it's like, it could get this hot in a truck, so it's got to be able to survive, when that's probably like the 0.1% chance situation, but still, you got to be prepared for it. And so, Liz, in your situation, probably if your products are sort of tender to heat or light exposure or something like that, you would want to just package them in a way where there's extra insulation, so that at least if they are temporarily exposed to high heat, it's not going to like instantly damage your product, but it can kind of handle a little bit of exposure for short periods of time. Maybe if it's like a super hot summery day when they're unloading a truck and it's parked outside the loading dock for a couple hours, but then gets in the warehouse and then it's fine. Amazon warehouses are not like, sweatshops. I've toured them before. They're workable environments. They're not keeping them at like 90 degrees in there. So
it's more on the
really
trucks. The semis are sitting in the yard, for who knows how long, sometimes with the sun beating on them. So the product needs to be able to withstand that.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you've got the individual units well insulated, and then the box itself is, sealed well, should be able to handle a few hours in a hot environment.
Yeah, worst case, I mean, if your product gets marked meltable, which I do sell some products that are marked meltable, so you can't send those into FBA during the summer months. I believe it's April something till October 15th or something like that. It changes a little bit each year, but for those products, I just fulfill them out of my warehouse, and my warehouse is in Florida, and I don't get any complaints, but Amazon doesn't let us send them into FBA during that time. So if you have products like that, or they're getting damaged, even though Amazon lets you send them into FBA, they're getting damaged by the heat, you might have to find a 3PL that is maybe up north or something like that, and use just a faster delivery service that's going to get them there quicker.
Yeah. And so, Liz, we've had some experiences this past year too, where there was some major delays in receiving at Amazon warehouses. So the Georgia parking lot situation, that certainly isn't how things are supposed to be. But there are some ways around that. Like if we're talking about, I can only imagine it sat in a parking lot because it was getting shipped LTL, which I applaud you for doing that if you are shipping LTL. But if you're sending stuff SPD, small parcels, directly to Amazon, you shouldn't ever have the problem of stuff getting stuck sitting in a truck. So because it's just getting dropped off by the UPS guy. So that's another avenue. If you've got more sensitive products, if they're not super fast moving, then I would just SPD those as an insurance policy, not risk them being stuck in a truck somewhere. Oh, SPD. Yeah, that's very bizarre that they'd be SPD and stuck in a parking lot. That's very interesting.
Oh, it was SPD. That's what she's saying? Yeah.
That's very interesting. So
yeah, that would be, so then that would,
that's a
UPS,
very
UPS must be delivering semis with packages too then.
I guess so. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so, that's not normal, Liz. That normally is not going to happen. I've never had that happen to any of my products, but crazy things happen sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would be pretty comfortable betting money that's not going to happen to you again in those exact circumstances. But yeah, there's depending on, I don't know the variety of your product line and if certain things are more sensitive or the whole product line is like this, but if you have more sensitive products like maybe oils or something that can't be exposed to heat, then yeah, I would probably, especially if your stuff is low volume, figuring out a way to do fulfilled by merchant on certain stuff is not that bad of an idea, especially if your stuff is really small and light. Sometimes shipping FBM can be cheaper than using FBA because your FBA fees are going to be the same or more expensive to fulfill. And then you've got all that logistics cost of storage and shipping and stuff. So if it's small products, low volume products, maybe just start fulfilling them yourself or hire a little assistant and just, keep a few dozen in your garage, something like that. So using your service, there's no interest. So yeah, what you're talking about here is, it sounds like it's either an Amazon problem or a UPS problem, which are things that we can't really control whether we had a warehouse or not, unless we were doing the fulfillment and owned a warehouse, right? So the only thing that you can do to completely avoid the Georgia parking lot scenario is to take fulfillment away from Amazon and manage fulfillment yourself, which is going to have its positives and negatives. Yeah, exactly. When you're doing FBM, you're not going to convert as well, especially if you're in a competitive space. If you've got a captive audience for a really niche, unique product, it might not impact you as much, except for when you're trying to advertise on main keywords to try and capture more market share. But if you already have regular customers, subscribe and save, stuff like that, that's really the main issue, is you can't do subscribe and save. You know what I mean? It's like you can set up your own website and do subscriptions, but that's going to involve, having a good website, preferably Shopify, stuff like that. So yeah, and totally get it on vitamins. Yeah.
Well, we are over the amount of time that we had allotted here, so we'll have to wrap it up. But yeah, I appreciate everybody coming on the call and asking a lot of really good questions. Again, scan those QR codes if you haven't already. Click those links in the chat, and hopefully we'll hear from you and we can help you out with your logistics or whatever else you need help with.
Yeah, look forward to helping everybody out. It was enjoyable. Hope that provided some value, and hopefully the people that are doing the 200,000 plus are about to go load up Amazon AWD so they can save a bunch of money in Q2.
Definitely take advantage of that hack right away.
Yep. Cool. All right,
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great one. Good talking with you.
See you later.